Mike, you're on the air.
Good day, Paddy. How are you today?
Couldn't be better. How about you?
Not too bad. Paddy, I actually sent you an email. I'll probably send you lots of emails. I'm going to entertain you sometimes. But, Paddy, well, you know, I'm a member of the NL Protect and stuff, and we're always trying to educate and reach different people. We don't operate with propaganda. We operate with facts. But I sent you a report, Paddy, regarding leading edge erosion on turbine blades, and if you get a chance to look at it, I really would recommend you to have a little read. It's really interesting. But
I know a little bit about it.
Okay, and read. And actually, I'm trying to reach people, the green energy supporters here today, with some information, because we have the people that are non-supporters like ourselves, the 3,200 people we have in our group. But just for some of these people that are hanging on to this misbelief.
Why are you opposed to green technologies?
Well, we're using these wind turbines and that there to describe it as green energy, but everything that I'm finding out is not green. And this is one of the things that is really important. But this leading edge erosion on turbine blades, it's a fact. It happens from day one. And that report that I sent to you was based on, I think, 138 turbines. But the edges start to break down. They release fiberglass particles. And along with that, they release resin. And that resin, for most part, and all the information I've found, is a carcinogen. I have trouble trying to say that word, but it's toxic and stuff. And these particles are spread throughout the ecosystem by the wind. They land into the watersheds, the bogs, the berries that we pick. The animals consume them inadvertently. And this happens, and it's real, and it's going to. And there's thousands of tons of this, depending on the number of turbines. The more turbines, the more tonnage of these fiberglass particles that are going to go into our environment, and these are forever.
Yeah, and to what extent, I think, is the big question here, Mike. So everything out, exposed to the elements will suffer some sort of erosion. It's just a natural occurrence, whether it be hailstorm or snowstorm or even the wind itself, raindrops, insects, different types of lighting, sand, dust, like everything that contributes to even coastal erosion. Same thing for a leading edge of a wind turbine. The biggest implication there that I can understand based on what I've read about it is that it reduces, based on the inexact aerodynamic proportions or properties that they began with, when they are eroded, there might be some shedding of coatings and or resins and or fiberglass, but the problem for the proponent would be that it reduces annual energy production. So what I've seen is that they have a threshold. If the energy production is reduced by X, then they have no choice but to replace the turbine itself, because it has a ripple effect throughout the entire chain of turbines and then the eventual electrolysis and ammonia and all the rest of it. So that's what I know about it.
Okay, and you're absolutely right. And regards to the efficiency of the turbine blades and for the projects, yes, that's definitely important to them. But what's important to us is that all of these particles end up on branches and trees, and it's consumed by the trout and the rabbits and the moose and all of this stuff. And these are resin fiberglass particles. And we went through this years ago in history when we ignored asbestos and we carried on with it. We mined it. We used it for insulation, and then finally it was health effects. And then the reality came that it was bad for people and it was bad for human life. And then we changed it and we cleaned it up and we done our best. And we're going to have 20 years here, hundreds, thousands of turbines shedding fiberglass particles. And right now today, in this province, and I know it, I've hiked it, I've crossed it. I can dip my head in any brook, and I can pick berries on the barns, and I don't have any worries about consuming contaminants. And with these green energy projects, whether we want to admit it or not, or government wants to admit it or not, we are intentionally, knowingly, willingly going to be emitting tons and tons of fiberglass fibers and resin all across our landscape.
But why are we thinking and pretending that wind power generated by these turbines is going to be different here than it has been elsewhere?
Well, it's not going to be different, because all of these reports are from wind energy projects that have taken place, whether it be the United States or Canada. And I think that the report that I sent you was an American report. But these are people that have learned from the mistakes. These are people that these projects, it's brand new to us, but there is other places in the world that, these projects were started 40 years ago, and now they've become to the point that they're, as recent as in Nantucket, there was some stuff in the news in Nantucket. They had their beaches shut down for 2 or 3 weeks because of fiberglass particles and resin. And that only happened a couple of weeks ago. All the beaches were shut down in Nantucket because of their offshore wind turbines. So we have options here. We don't have to chase these wind energy projects. We were fine for 15 years without them. So why are we like a runaway train chasing it when there's more environmentally friendly ways of producing electricity?
And very quickly, such as?
Natural gas, hydroelectric, we got Muskrat Falls down to secure the link. For me, for one, I cannot, and we've been trying to sit down with Andrew Parsons and the Premier and have an intelligent, open table discussion, and they refuse to do it, email after email. You can't even publicly embarrass them to get a meeting with you. And our concerns are legit. And to the people out there that are supporters of green energy, you really, really have to do your research. And you may jump off of that bandwagon and jump on ours.
Okay, very quickly before I do have to get to the news. Just for the record, there is no such thing as 100% green. There's not. Everything has to be made of something, including a wind turbine, including a solar panel, and including hydroelectricity. It's renewable, which makes it greener than other options, but there's lots of environmental damage that takes place when you build a hydro development. There's lots of materials that have to be mined to build a solar panel. There's lots of components of a wind turbine that have to be manufactured. So nothing's 100% green. The conversation is what's greener than other forms of energy, whether it be from fossil fuels and coal versus hydro, wind and solar, and or tidal power or whatever else anyone wants to incorporate here. It's not that something is 100% green, is that it's greener than other things that have been the traditional sources of energy in the past. That's where the conversation belongs, not in anyone pretending that even if it's a renewable or even if we're simply trying to capture the power of the sun, that it's 100% green, because the whole definition has to begin with upstream development and downstream usage. And what that means from totality, from engineering to building, erecting, producing the energy and how it gets to the end consumer, we'll see how green something is compared to other sources of energy. That's how the conversation should sound, as opposed to anybody pretending that any source of energy is perfectly green and that has zero emissions and that has zero potential harm, environmentally or otherwise. So, Mike, because it's 11:32, I have to go, but I appreciate the time. I will take the time to read the report you sent along. Of course, when you send it during the show, I don't have an opportunity, but I'll search it out and I'll take a look.
Okay, and so I have one more second.
Quickly.
1 second. Years ago, we sprayed all the undergrowth here in this province and stuff, and that there years ago, I think it was about 50 years ago, and we found out afterwards that you couldn't eat the livers and the moose. We killed off most of the eagle population, a lot of birds and everything else and stuff, and then we stopped spraying that. So now we know that. But we have the information and the facts right now that we don't want to be here 20 years down the road and most of our wildlife and birds and landscape and watersheds are polluted when we know that we're directly going to pollute them if we carry on with these projects. We got to learn from past mistakes when it comes to protecting the environment. I'll end with that, Paddy.
I appreciate your time, Mike.
Thank you very much, sir.
All the best. Bye-bye.